say a whole lot. But now let's bring on Sergeant Paul Tapau of the Guam Police Department. Good morning, Sarge.
Hey, Paul. Can you hear us, Paul?
Hey, Afide, good morning,
morning.
Sabrina and Chris.
Good morning. Good morning,
Jason.
Sarge.
You guys staying safe?
Yeah, we're doing okay. How about you? With the news that two of Guam's finest have caught the COVID. What can you tell us about that?
Okay, so as we reported through the Joint Information Center, the Guam Police Department was made aware of two of our officers, our line officers, our uniform officers, that had tested positive for COVID-19. Now, these officers are assigned to our specialized units. Now, within our specialized units, again, as we stated with the JIG, and of course with the release, they have minimal contact with the community. That's, I don't want to say it's a good thing, but, tracking from when we made the announcement when one of our patrol officers at one of the respective precincts had tested positive, I think that was more of a greater concern because they service the greater community as a whole as a precinct. So, nonetheless, moving forward with where we are, the respective sections within those divisions have made efforts to mitigating, any further spread of the virus. They've done they're working closely we are working closely with Department of Public Health and Social Services with immediate contact and close exposures with these officers. So, again, the specialized units are separate and apart from our patrol division, our patrol officers who are within the 4 precincts. So, there's different mechanisms that come into play with exposure to the community or the greater community. But, again, those 2 officers are at home in isolation. And the last that I heard that they're doing okay, and that's a good thing. And we continue to pray, for their quick recovery and, of course, their safety and concerns for the family.
When you say specialized units, are we talking like
Executive security?
Yeah, CID, chief's office?
So specialized units can consist of our detectives, our SWAT officers, our highway patrol division, our maritime officers, or our harbor patrol guys. So, we, because it's really, a generalized unit, we're going to refrain from doing that to protect the interests of the, and of course, understanding the HIPAA issues and everything. So, just to keep the community aware of where we are now, we are working closely with the officers and the respective sections or the division. But again, this is separate and apart unit or section or division that's not within the patrol that deals with the greater community of this island.
Mm-hmm. You said that they don't really associate or are in contact with the greater community, but what about the people that they work with in this specialized unit? How many people are we looking at for possible contact?
So we are working closely with Department of Public Health and Social Services, and of course with the respective commands, their immediate supervisors. So we're still getting the numbers. I know we started testing. Some officers had actually initiated the set of tests when they found out that they were may have been exposed or they were in immediate contact with the officers. So we don't have the full numbers. So again, nothing has other than the shifting of personnel to cover the void. Each respective precinct, each respective division, each respective section, it's still operating. We're still operational. We have officers that we can train, that have been trained, and should the event call for a right seat, left seat movement, our officers can easily shift and make that adaptation into those voids. So we still provide the services.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So the 2 officers, are they in the same specialized unit?
I don't know if they're in the same specialized unit, but we again, we want to protect the interests of the officers. But again,
that's not a HIPAA violation. They either they are or they're not.
I'm sorry.
It's not a HIPAA violation to say whether or not they're in the same specialized unit.
Yeah, I don't know which unit they're in. That's why. But again, I was just giving that to protect the HIPAA, and this is how we move forward.
But
with,
they didn't even tell you how many officers could be potentially exposed. I mean, we heard 59 at the Port Authority of employees there that were possibly exposed. You can't give me a number on how many police officers may have been exposed in these
not a general
specialized
number.
units?
Again, because we're tracking because of the fact that, there's various specialized units. There's the Highway Patrol Division, there's the
Right.
detectives and everything. So understanding what we need to do and find out the closure, because the dynamics of each, and just to bring to light, um, in a specialized unit, like when I used to be at Highway Patrol and working closely with our juvenile investigators or with our SWAT officers, it's not as confined as the space that you would have versus a precinct. So you would have your office space and everything. So again, these officers, whether they're working a big case or they're working independently doing follow-up investigation or closing other cases, they work independently within their office space. So there's office spaces that are available to them. When we visit our DART office, you saw that each officer had an office space or a shared office space. So really understanding that they are not confined into one general area, they have a space within an office that we can isolate and we can direct that to. So understanding if an entire division has to be as identified, we don't know because of the fact of understanding where we are with the contact tracing. So this is where we need to take the steps with working with the officers and finding out who may have come in close contact and exposure. So, from where we are now, we're still working and we're still making the assessment. And again, some of the officers have actually taken, the COVID test to see where they are. And we, again, as like what we did with the Dead Order Precinct, we'll provide the more information as it develops, because we only broke this news yesterday, as it was available to us. And, we've been transparent with the community of where we are and how many of, and as we progress, we'll provide the information to the greater community.
Do you have any information on how they may have contracted coronavirus?
I'm sorry, I don't have that information.
Okay, because, if I'm going to call some people, and I hope it's not the people that contracted coronavirus from a person that they met with and were requesting repeatedly to get tested but weren't.
Yeah.
What about that, Sarge? Do you have officers in the department who have been asking to get tested? Because we had man, I forget who we asked about this, but we had heard that there was a high-level meeting at Adelup, which was attended by the chief and then several other officers.
No, not several. Maybe like two other.
Right? And so, what was the deal again, Reed?
That they had met with the governor over the weekend. When I guess
A couple weekends ago.
right, and then that Monday we found out that she tested positive,
Right.
and so after that meeting, the chief was able to get tested immediately, but the other officers weren't, and they were expressing concerns about getting tested. And so it's kind of
So I don't know. I don't know where the officers again. And I'm going to use the framework of what we did with the Dead Order Precinct Command. And again, this again, it's fluid. Everything changes, but when we've established how to move forward, should a precinct, which is a big population of officers or GPD personnel, we move forward with identifying close contact. We've identified the numbers of officers, whether it's going to affect the shift. Should it affect the shift or any operations, we moved personnel from the various precincts. And we allocated those personnel into B coverage within the Dead Order Precinct to cover the short or the void. Remember, we never closed the precinct at that time. So understanding where we needed to go with the numbers, we would need to find further as to how many of the officers were exposed. I can't give you the exact numbers, and I apologize for that, because they work in shifts. So we have, not to give too much or divulge too much information about operational procedures, because again, this is specialized units. So there's a shift work that's incorporated with the COVID operation or with the daily operation. So understanding the transition of the shifts, whether they've been exposed to an entire unit or it's just a particular shift or their individual office space. These are things in which we have to take account for versus what we did with the Dead Order Precinct. We took into consideration the entire precinct, the entire personnel, and possible exposure as they transition because of the space that's available within respective precinct and the work area. So these are variables in which we have to put in. And where we are with officers, should we need to move forward with officers getting tested, the Guam Police Department worked closely with the Department of Public Health and Social Service in affording the officers, again, with the dead of the precinct, who may have been exposed or may have been in close contact with the first GPD COVID case in getting tested. And we were able to do that in a timely manner where we were able to quarantine the officers for a duration of time until they got their test results. Again, we've allocated officers, so we shifted officers to cover that void. Same thing is applying here. Although this is a specialized unit which requires special training and everything, we do have field officers within patrol that we can actually pull from the ranks to cover that void once the officers or each individual officers that were exposed to give the proper timeline so that they can come back from quarantine.
Right on, Sarge. Anything else in closing you want to add? Maybe message out to the public?
Yeah. Stay home.
Stay home.
Curfew.
Yes,
Right.
please.
Curfew?
And
Are we
again,
doing curfew?
And the personal, real quick, the precincts remain open.
Okay.
When we moved into our PCOR operation, we want to assure the communities that the precincts are open. It's just minor adjustments in how we service the community. Simply call the respective precinct, wait outside your car, and officers will entertain you. As for our services sites, again, with records and ID section, the voting and registration, and of course, Army, the services, the community in these aspects, we're going to suspend operation until we move forward with the government moving back into a Core 2 or a Core 3 operational phase. But in a personal note, again, this is personal, COVID-19, because GPD is a tight-knit family oriented style way of operation. We're really close with the officers. Again, our hearts, our prayers go out to each and every individual that's affected by COVID-19. Do your part. Dr. Lombard was on your show yesterday, and it's our responsibility. It's everybody's responsibility. It's our community responsibility just to do our part into safeguarding the community and, of course, the lives and safety of the greater community. But again, the Guam Police Department remains steadfast in how we provide safety and security, and we will still respond to emergency 911 call situations. And again, none other than our services side, which caters to records and ID section, precincts remain open. Our divisions, which that our specialized units are in operations. So these are the services in which we provide to the greater community. And of course, everything. God bless and stay safe, Guam.
Thank you, Sarge. Matt, did you hear? Are we on a curfew? Is there a curfew for PCOR 1?
We've still been in that curfew. We have a curfew operation that's been since the first initial PCOR in March. So Patei Famagonta has been our curfew task force. Our curfew task force was they work the hours, and the community. I'm glad you brought that up, and I thank you for that. Parents, we are in a pretty much a Island White shutdown. Please be mindful for where your kids are, and of course, everything and anything that your kids do, you're held liable for their actions. So, let's consider what we need to do as stewards and parents of the community, and have an accountability of where our kids are.
Right on, Sarge. Our thoughts and prayers are with you, and of course, with the officers. And you take it easy, okay?
Thank you, my brother. You guys stay safe and God bless.
Of course, right on. Hey, we're going to take a break, but first, I do have a piece of breaking news here out of the Guam legislature. The following statement is from Senator Will Castro.